All right, start with Richard. Thanks very much. Big round of applause.
Ooh. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much, it's going to be a hands-on thing. But I thought I'd better put up at least one slide saying why SBT is lovely, why it's interesting. From my point of view, it's a build tool that looks after libraries for me, so dependency management, it's Scala-based, which is obviously something we all love. Gives you an interactive shell and triggered execution. These things I'll kind of demonstrate, but they might be a bit different from other build tools you've used. And it's extensible with plugins and processors, which Philip's going to talk about later. Is it Philip? Oh yeah, cool. And those are all the reasons why SBT is lovely. So it's going to be hands-on, so no more talking, just going to do some demo stuff. Later on, we're going to show you how to install SBT if you haven't already got it. Who's using SBT already? Okay, that's about, well, maybe a bit less than half of you. Who's using something like Maven or Ant? Okay, so that's everyone else covered pretty much. So we'll install SBT later. I've got it already installed, so we'll start up a new project. Okay. Oh, okay, we're a little bit off screen. Is that me taking the projector?
Do auto detect on the projector.
Okay.
Detect on the space.
Mm-hmm.
Check the
Looks great on my screen. Is it? Can I just move this across a bit?
Yeah, make the window a bit small.
Yeah. Okay, so don't worry about all that output there, that's just because I'm using JRebel, and we can talk about that later if you want to, but you won't normally see that. So I started SBT and it's asked me to create a new project, which I'll do. I'll give it a name. All.lsug. And you can, I think you can enter all this stuff on the command line as in one go if you like, but you get prompted for it, which is kind of nice. So one of the confusing things about SBT is it's kind of built for Scala 2.7, but can build 2.7 or 2.8 projects. So you'll sometimes see it talking about Scala 2.7, even if you're building a 2.8 project. But it's just kind of flexible like that. Okay, and that's how you start an SBT project. One thing to note here is we're still left in SBT, and this is kind of the interactive nature of it. We've not been kind of run a command and we're back to our normal OS shell. We're in SBT and we've got a whole bunch of commands available to us, and if you hit tab, you get to see some of them. And there's commands in there for running a project, compiling it, testing it, packaging it, all the kind of stuff you'd expect. So what I'm going to do is just show you what's been created so far. So now I've got to do the little screen jiggling again. Try and work out what's on screen for me and on screen for you. Okay, looks pretty good. So what SBT's done is created us a directory structure. There's a folder for any libraries you have lying around you just want to kind of drop in. It has a whole project directory which is full of SBT specific things pretty much. Source directory, it's created a kind of Maven-like structure, which some of you might be familiar with, and there's a target directory as well. So, kind of the hello world is just to go in and create a file. So So I'll just write the usual hello world. And I'll save that. So from SBT, I can just run it. And that's a pretty verbose output, but you can see it's compiled the program and run it. And there's a hello world right there. I'm just going to turn down the amount of verbosity. And what we can now do is show you the kind of continuous nature of SBT. Any commands you prefix with a tilde kind of run, well, are triggered to run when there are changes detected. So if I run the same command again, run, but with a tilde, it's going to run my program. You saw hello world there without all the information around it. And that's waiting for changes. So if I go back to my source file, and change it. In fact, this won't compile, so we'll just see what happens. So it was waiting for a source change, it found it, tried to compile it, I got an error, and now it's waiting again. Is that pretty clear? This is today's going to be very interactive, so if there's anything you want to just jump in on, that's just great. So I'll fix the problem. Now if I jump back to my terminal before hitting save, hopefully you'll see it running. No, I can't. I just don't have the screen space for this. Okay. Did we just spot the change there? It compiled it and ran the program. Yeah. Pretty straightforward. So that's you can use SBT like that. It's a pretty simple project. Most projects you're going to build are going to be a bit more complicated, I'm guessing, and you're going to have some dependencies. And SBT handles those via a project definition file. And these live in the project directory in a folder called build. And you just create, well, if you're used to Maven, you're used to writing quite large XML files full of dependencies. If you're used to Ant, it's pretty much similar. With SBT, it's a Scala file. I think you can call it pretty much what you like. You can call it project. And what SBT has is kind of DSL for talking about dependencies. So what I'm going to do is add a dependency on Scala test. Now, just to fess up, I don't use Scala test a lot myself. I use specs instead. But I think the dojo that this kind of session is related to uses Scala test. So I'm going to try and use Scala test. You'd like to use Scala test, okay. So I'm going to try and use Scala test as well, but apologies if it all goes horribly wrong. So this is the project definition, which will add Scala test to the project. So there are a few imports you need, and then you define the definition, which is a Scala class. It takes some information. I have no idea what the information's for. Anybody know? Info.
I think that's what's in the build.
Okay, yeah, there's a build.properties file. I'll just show you that. And this is the stuff I entered when we started this session, I guess. And you can see some of that would be useful in building a project like the Scala version. So there are different kinds of projects you can extend. There are sort of web projects. We're just going for a default project. I'm going to add a dependency, which you just do using the DSL. So org.scala test, percentage scala test, and a version. Ooh. And what? Oh, that's all I need to do. In fact, that's it. That adds the dependency to SBT, which I think is pretty refreshing after kind of other build tools. So if I go back to SBT, what I need to do is tell it I've changed the project configuration with reload. And you can see it's found one new kind of file to change. One new changed file. So it's effectively compiled that project definition. I've added a dependency, so you need to tell SBT to go and fetch that dependency, which is update, is the command, which I've already got that dependency, so it's not gone and done anything. Normally it'll go off to the internet and download it for you.
I think you can pay your cash.
Yeah, sure. Okay, do you know where that would be? I'm happy to.
Just, yeah, start actions.
Clean. Clean dash. So I hit tab and I got completion. So I got clean plugins, clean cache. What do you think? Okay, my cache is clean. So just update again. Okay, so it's downloading Scala test 1.2.jar. Of course, this is where the internet decides to stop working, obviously. Okay. So it's downloaded that. Nothing else has happened particularly. We've defined the project, we've got the dependency. It's pretty straightforward. I guess we should write a test to use it.